Today we have quite a different kind of episode with Ricardo Turpin with us, who now lives in Finland with his family since about 8 years, having moved here from Brazil. So let's go right to it. Welcome to the podcast, Ricardo.
Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope we're going to have a nice conversation.
I'm sure we will. So let's take us back to your life in Brazil as a student. What did you study and how was your study life in Brazil?
All right, so I'd like to start with a little bit of my background, why I'm interested in education maybe. I come from a family of educators. My mom was a principal in a school, and she used to take me to the school every now and then because I was too small to stay alone at home. So I've been introduced to high school classes since I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and that made me really interested in things like genetics, for example, that they were studying back then, and philosophy. And so since I was really young, I was already really interested in education in general. And then when I became 18, I moved from São Paulo, which is a 20 million people city, to Curitiba in the south of Brazil to study first zootechnics, and then I changed from that didn't really click with me to information management, which is a mix of IT and business. So that was a bit more my style. I studied about 5 years there, but I didn't finish. That's a funny part of my study path. I didn't finish that course because I decided to move to Finland.
Okay, so take us to that moment. So how was your thinking around education? You said you were very interested in education because of your early experience, but around how you learn and what to study and what you wanted to experience in life as a part of your own education. Did you already have an interest in, let's say, international experiences, which I feel and know is one of the most important and rich learning experience you can have, traveling to another country if you have that opportunity. But did you have any idea of that before you took that decision, or how was your learning path in your mind before you decided to move?
Yeah, so I was sure of one thing, that I didn't want to pay for my studies. Since I was 15 or 16, I decided I'm not going to a private university, which is really common in Brazil. So I choose the course that was maybe more probable that I would get in a federal university. And then from there, I could change to other course in the future. So that's why I picked this specific university and specific course. But then I come from a multinational family as well. My father was from Guinea in Africa, and my mom Brazilian. So I lived my first 6 years in Guinea. Then I moved to Brazil when I was 6 years old. And my mom always kind of knew that I would go abroad at some point.
Okay.
And she kept telling me that so that I would know as well. That was a funny thing. And my brother moved to Dublin when I was in university, and I thought, why not to move there and study something after I finished this course? But the course was not so engaging for me because it was not practical at all. It was basically theory, and most of the teachers I had at that time, they were academic and didn't have much experience in business. So that was a bit frustrating for me because I wanted to know how business worked and how is it in real life to do information management instead of learning only about the theory of information management.
So why did you get interested into, let's say, information management and business, let's say, before you started university studies?
Yeah, my father used to be a businessman, and I have memories from when I was 5 years old or something that he would take me to his office and he would open the safe and show me the money inside of the safe, and I'll be okay. That's nice. I want to have a safe also, and it was easy for me when I was growing up to communicate with people and kind of interact and convince people of my point of view, and I was a bit. How can I say, drawn to business since maybe 7th grade, 6th grade. I was already buying lollipops in the shop and taking it to school to resell it and make some extra cash. So I think it came kind of naturally with the influence of my dad and the environment around me. My family didn't have that much money because teachers don't make much money in South America in general, I guess. And every penny that I could get hustling somehow was welcome. And I could buy my new hat or whatever I wanted.
And then go into your university experience. Did it fulfill some of your expectations, studying business-related topics, or was it somehow the lack of fulfillment that had you move? If you tell us a little bit about your experience at university and then the reasons for moving in the end.
No, I learned a lot in university, and it was really nice to have teachers that had experience and had also international experience talking to me and giving me advice and kind of guiding me throughout my internships and all that. So it was a rich experience anyways. But throughout my whole life in Brazil, I felt like I was not engaged enough in my studies for some reason. And when I moved here, I understood why was that the methods that we have in Brazil are not so engaging. You spend, for example, 6 to 8 years studying English in public education, but the whole time we're talking about the same things in a boring way. Like not really, no one learns anything. So then you move here and you have teachers doing different things, taking you to having a game, for example, to teach you about bookkeeping, and having projects with real companies instead of just talking about the subject in class.
Yeah, so go into the transition a little bit more. So how did you start your process to move to Finland, and how did you start studying, and how did that process start and continue?
Yeah, I was already thinking about moving to either Dublin or Stockholm because of family connections, and I met this Finnish girl, and that changed everything. We fell in love, and she was about to move back to Finland. She was doing an internship in Brazil after she finished her master's here. She went to Brazil to teach English, and she was teaching in the same NGO that I was teaching marketing to teenagers. So we met, and she convinced me that why don't you move to Finland instead? Because we have free education for all, and it's the best education in the world. I'm sure you're gonna get in easy. Don't you worry. So I was like, okay, looks simple enough, and Finland is close to Sweden. I have family there, so it's gonna be nice. So I moved here in the summer of 2015, and I had the entrance exam in November. So I had 3 months of tourist visa. Then I had to go away from Europe for 3 months and come back for the entrance exam. And one funny story that I needed a TOEFL test, right? I did one in Brazil, and I thought my grade was good enough. But then I was in Bangkok, and I realized that no, this grade is not good enough. I have to retake the test, and I had to do it in Bangkok. Super busy, a lot of kids, like young kids doing the test, noise and everything, but I managed. And when I came back to Finland, the entrance exam was way harder than my now wife portrayed it. But anyways, I managed to get in Hagahelia, Porvo campus, which was amazing because a bit smaller. You get to know the teachers. Teachers know you by name. So it was quite nice that I got into Porvo instead of Pasila.
And how did you apply to Finnish University of Applied Sciences, Hagahelia, or did you apply to many different universities? Just one.
One university, one course, and that was.
And how did you select Hagahelia?
She told me that he was the best in business, and I trusted her. I'm not sure how is Hagahelia ranked now, but in my opinion, it was a good choice.
I think it's the most internationally known University of Applied Sciences in Finland. So a good choice. So tell us about the experience. How was it different to study in Finland and at Hagahelia compared to previously in Brazil?
One big difference is the way that you interact with the teachers, for example. In Finland, you call the teacher by first name, and the interaction is way more like you are in the same level. As in Brazil, you have to call them teacher or sir or something like that. Otherwise, they might get a little bit annoyed. And the interaction is more like they are a few steps above you. So the communication flows like that. Another big difference is that in here, you have to be way more, how do you say, responsible for your own learning experience than the teacher is. The teacher will be more like a coach somehow, giving you tips and guiding you, but not really feeding you all the information you need. You're going to have to search for yourself and analyze and curate your own information. So it's quite different. And that maybe made me more engaged.
So if you tell us about the respect also for the teacher versus the respect for the profession of the teachers. As you mentioned, you might be more on the same level in Finland, but at the same time, Finland is very well known for having a lot of respect for the teaching profession.
Yeah.
How would you see that as a learner, from the learner's perspective? How would you comment on that?
No, definitely. Maybe the fact that you can communicate with them freely makes you respect them even more, because when you have this kind of authoritarian approach, you might feel more eager to clash with the teacher and kind of try to prove that they are not as good as they think they are, or something like that. So in here, being the same level, they show you that they know by being an example of what a professional in business, what is their behavior, how they talk, where they look for information, how. So you see that you should respect them because they're actually doing a really great job, and not only because they have the title to say that they are teachers. So I think that in Finland there is way more respect for the profession and the person doing the job than in Brazil, in my opinion.
Yeah. So then your take on the fact that you had to take more responsibility for your learning here in Finland, and do you think that's easy to do, like coming from another culture where you maybe used to doing what you're told more, and how would you say that benefited you, and what were maybe the challenges to actually be able to be responsible with that kind of authority that you were given?
Yeah, I can say that some of my colleagues didn't like that approach because they're so used to having the teacher feeding them everything they need to know, that they were like, but this teacher doesn't do anything and expect me to do all the work. And I'm like, okay, but that's the point. That's what is going to make you succeed in the future. Like, and for me, it was really good because it took me out of my comfort zone, and it kind of gave me the opportunity to be my best. But for some people, it can be a challenge, and I saw this firsthand with some of my colleagues. They didn't even manage to finish the course because it was just too difficult for them to take responsibility. They're too used to being passive.
And do you refer to other international colleagues from
Exactly.
maybe similar countries to yours?
Yeah.
And then, so if you are not prepared, let's say in high school or in basic education for this own responsibility, what do you think is required to succeed in higher education in Finland besides this responsibility that you take? Do you have a mindset shift that is enough, or do you need more preparation, or what can you relate to that helped you be prepared for this?
Yeah, I think I was in a mission. I was a warrior in a mission. I had to finish the course, and I would have to do whatever is needed for it. So that was my motivation, and I guess just the fact that they give you the power to do things is already enough, or was already enough for me at least, to get motivated. Instead of just sitting in class, I could go and do projects with real companies. I could participate in different events, volunteer here and there. So that was really exciting to actually apply the knowledge I was getting from school right there while I was studying, and not to have to wait for 4 years to get the degree and then go and apply the knowledge.
Yeah, and when you mentioned course, you mean the entire degree that you finished. You had a mission to finish the entire degree.
Exactly.
So when did you finish, and then what was your degree in the end?
I finished in 2019, so it took me 4.5 years, I guess, to finish. And I did a degree in international business with focus in sales and marketing. That was it.
So tell us about your early career then in Finland. What has been your first experience like working with Finnish companies, and what kind of focus have you had in your degree and your career? I mean, after finishing your degree, and then you can take us forward to your vision and your mission now after having been in the working space for some years.
Yeah. So right when I arrived here, the then president of Brazil was in Finland discussing education export. And that was like, okay, education export, business with education, connecting Brazil and Finland. I said right away, like, I want to do this. And in my interview, for the admission for the university, I said that, and I noticed that the teacher liked it. And since I started, I could see a lot of opportunities, and we had several projects with edtechs interested in Brazil. So since my second or third semester, I started doing projects with these companies, including at Vista, and that was amazing. I really enjoyed my time working with education export. So I started kind of focusing more and more into that, and I got the chance to go to Brazil to do my internship, 6 months there. It was a great opportunity for me to do not only business but also teacher training, and even interpretations and translations in events or workshops. I've been to one of the biggest events around education, BET Brazil, with different Finnish companies. It was really eye-opening for me and really exciting experience. So when I came back, I finished the degree, and I was super excited to continue working with it. But then things changed a little bit, and I ended up in my current job, which is with education also, but with first and second graders in the afternoon club. So
so let's talk about the afternoon clubs also separately, but to highlight a little bit more the education export interest that you have, and also the need that I know that we have in Finland to actually export more of our education solutions. And you mentioned BET, like right now this week, BET Brazil is happening.
yeah.
And we have a few colleagues of ours actually there present. And I was there myself in 2018 once. I haven't been in Brazil otherwise. But what I see that is clearly an issue is the lack of Finnish representation at these big international events in Latin America, such as the BET Brazil. So in 2018, there was a few of us there representing Finnish education technology solutions based on Finnish research, etc. And still this week, so we're like 5-6 years later, we still have a very limited amount of Finnish education technology companies present at BET Brazil.
Not many more.
Such a huge, not many more, if even the same number.
Yeah.
And what do you see as the issue of exporting education to Latin America and focusing on Brazil in this case, which has been maybe the first market for a lot of Finns and one of the successful markets, an innovative country in general in many ways compared to other Latin American countries. So what would you see are the challenges exporting Finnish education technology or solutions in general to Brazil, and the opportunities that you see that you would really like to grab on and help people succeed with?
Yeah, in my personal experience, one big challenge is the pricing. I see that as a deal breaker, and many Finnish companies, they kind of think that they can sell in euro in Brazil, for example, but it gets too expensive for the Brazilian companies to actually afford it. And I spent 6 months trying to sell as well. I closed a few deals, but a lot of the feedback that I got with the deals that I didn't close was that it's a bit too expensive. So I think that would be the biggest barrier, is to find a good pricing strategy to reach Latin America productively. But there is a lot of opportunities. I mean, we need a lot of knowledge in education in Brazil, for example. I think that there is a big need for teacher training and also platforms that can support different methods of teaching, such as video storytelling or gamification. I think Brazil need a lot of what we have to offer, but we have to take into consideration that Brazilian real is like 5 times less than €1. So it's quite expensive for them to pay the same that the companies in Finland are paying for the product.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's a huge market. And you mentioned Sao Paulo only has like 20 million inhabitants. So there's a huge opportunity if you get the price level right.
Of course.
And find a good, let's say, product market fit in that sense. So what would you recommend then to Finnish players and also educators in general from here to consider more beyond the pricing, but looking at the big picture? And then what would you recommend Brazilians to look out for to maybe increase the demand for Finnish products and Finnish solutions? That might be also one thing that Finnish players are waiting for.
Well, what can I say? I don't know if I have enough knowledge to give you a proper recommendation, but I think that Brazilian players could look at Finland on a, how can I say, like a benchmarking hub, that they could come here and see what teachers are doing here and what kind of events we have in Finland about education, and try to bring it back to Brazil. That would be maybe more accessible for them to send 1 or 2 people here and try to collect as much good tips and try to take it back to Brazil and implement it there. And also what they are doing is to try to make partnerships between Brazilian universities and Finnish universities to develop together projects in Brazil as well. And I think we have some programs already in place that support these strategies, but that could be more common, in my opinion. The not only Finnish companies trying to go to Brazil to sell, but also Brazilian institutions coming here to learn and then going back to spread the knowledge there.
Yeah. Would you also recommend to Brazilian students to try to come here and study in Finland or have an experience living in Finland?
Definitely. I think is a great opportunity to learn from the best, and I mean, whatever international experience you can get is already valid and super important. But coming to Finland was so different than everything else I experienced before that it kind of helped me to grasp more and more of everything that I was learning. The weather is different, people behave different, everything. When you go to Portugal or France is basically the same as we are used to back home, with better architecture. But otherwise the food is similar somehow. We have a lot of these Southern European influences in Brazil. So Finland was really, really different. Even though I've been to Sweden before, Finland was special somehow. So I definitely recommend everyone that get the chance to come do a internship or exchange, or even come and do your whole degree here, I super recommend.
Fantastic. So let's go into maybe not early childhood, but you have a couple of children that have gone through early childhood here in Finland, early childhood education, and then primary education, and your experience with the afternoon clubs, because afternoon clubs are also something that were quite well known for having, let's say, a lot of diverse activities for children after the academic hours, which is also very important.
Yeah.
The fun learning approach that we recommend in Finland.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, your experience with your own children as a father, and then also with the afternoon clubs.
Yeah, so I think first of all, the first impression when I came to the kindergarten was these kids don't have shoes. Like in Brazil, everybody has shoes inside the house or at school for sure, and you get there, you have to take your shoes off in the entrance and put your slippers on, and then you are actually more comfortable, and you feel like you I don't know, you can experience whatever is there barefoot or kind of free from the shoelaces. And they have a lot of outdoor activities. Even though it's freezing outside, they go out to forest walks and things that I would never imagine in Brazil. Like you barely go to a museum or something like that. And my kids go every week to a forest walk or something in the city center or some kind of a little trip. So I think that's really, really, really interesting and different than in Brazil. And then in Brazil, we don't have any activities out of the school hours. So if you don't have a grandma or a uncle at home or someone that can kind of take care of you after the school, you're going to be there alone watching TV or playing video games. And in here, first and second graders have the chance to have an adult supervising and have different kinds of activities in the afternoon that will support their learning experience and at the same time keep them safe, keep them belly full, and learning different kinds of skills. For example, how to behave with other kids and how to walk nicely when you move from point A to point B, because the club I work is an outdoor club. So we gather at the school, but then we go to different parks. So we spend the whole afternoon outside playing and having different games and playing football. The kids love to play football with me. So is in my opinion really important and needed. So needed that the second graders, the parents of the second graders, are now getting together to try to create a club for third graders, because they feel the need of having someone supervising their kids, even though they're already third graders. But after school, they don't want them at home watching TV. So they're trying to organize afternoon club for third graders as well. So I think this is really, really nice and needed.
So then try to conclude a little bit. What are the highlights of Finnish education, both from, let's say, primary age, early childhood, maybe even, to higher education? What are a few, let's say, highlights that you think actually could be implementable also in Brazil?
I think that, well, the main point, in my opinion, is the student-centric approach. That's definitely the game changer, and that's one thing that we don't have in Brazil, or we didn't have, at least while I was studying there. That's 10 years ago almost. So I hope that changed, but I doubt. So that's the main thing. The student gets to be the star and the responsible one of their learning path. Uh, and I think that when you think about early childhood and then primary education, the fact that we offer the kids the opportunity to stay basically from morning to until 5 o'clock in an environment where they can actually learn and develop skills that they wouldn't at home, not necessarily. So that's at least 5 hours more than we do in Brazil, and that can be really a game changer, because when I was growing up, I would have my friends playing in the neighborhood with no problems. But nowadays, because of violence, that doesn't happen anymore. So the kids don't have the interaction with other kids unless they are at school or if they have a big family. And in here, you get the opportunity to keep practicing social skills throughout the whole day. And of course, the more you practice, better you get at it, and the chances of you to succeed in the future uh, grow exponentially. So I think that we have a lot to learn from Finland, and as I said, Brazilians should be more and more aware of what is happening here and try to copy as much as possible and implement it there.
Yeah, so that's also a tricky balance, the free play versus structured or guided fun activities to make sure that you develop the right kind of skills in a safe enough environment without being overprotective at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas we have now a digital environment where we're not really supervising the children enough.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky balance and a tricky topic. And let's see if we can have a follow-up on that, and especially when it comes to gamification, which I know is one of your strong interests. Maybe we can end with some fun recommendations regarding tools, like technological tools that you've seen here in Finland, regarding these things that might make the development of children healthy also after school hours, but specifically during school hours.
Yeah. So while you were talking, first thing comes to my mind, Seppo. As you know, is a gamification platform from Finland, created from, the story goes like, there is this history teacher called Riku, and he has a group of students going to Rome to visit different cathedrals and sites, historical sites. And he asked the students, what can we do to make it more fun, this trip, and engaging? And the students come with the idea of having a game-like setup where they will visit different places and take pictures and do different tasks. And that went really well. And Rico decided to create a platform to implement that, and Seppo was created. And it's basically, it can be a lot of things, but you can use it like Pokemon Go, for example, that you have a map and you put different pins in different parts of the map, and the person has to walk through the city to visit these pinned locations and do different tasks. For example, watch this short video and give me 3 points of the 3 most important points of the lecture in the video, or take a picture of the most interesting statue in the museum. So you can create different engaging tasks to support a field trip or even a classroom activity. So is something really interesting for kids to adults, and it works really well in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So I just really like the the product, and I worked with them. I did my internship with them in Brazil, and then I worked with them in different opportunities, and it was always really nice and engaging to work with them, and also to use the platform as a user. It was always fun. So I super recommend, if you get the chance to use it in your classroom or in your company, reach out to Seppo and try to get a license to use it. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and the great news is that Seppo is already present in Brazil,
Yeah.
and they're doing quite well. So we hope they've also had a very good Bet Brazil event, since we know they're present there this week. So that would be great to see them distribute the opportunities for gamified learning in entire Latin America and also beyond.
Yeah.
Any final words from your side as a parent, as an educator, teacher trainer to some extent as well? What are your, let's say, final words for today? I'm sure we will have a follow-up and more conversations in our collaboration in the future. But any final words for now from your perspective at this moment?
Yeah, just would like to say thank you for the invitation, first of all. And I really think that if there's two things that make me 100% sure that I'll be in Finland for a long time: education for my kids and the safetyness that we can enjoy here. So education being my passion, I think that I'm in the right place, and I can be sure that my kids will get the best that is available and in a safe environment. So I will repeat what I said before. If you get the chance, please come and check with your own eyes what I'm talking about. You're gonna see that it's completely different than we are used to in Brazil, and it's better.
Thank you so much, Ricardo.
Thank you.
That was a great conversation, and I hope to continue the conversation
Definitely.
in the future.
Thanks.
Thank you.